I call this meeting of the South Redford Board of Education together at 6:31. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the roll call. Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Daniel Winston.
Present.
Anthony Johnson.
Present.
Lori Hicks.
Present.
Misha Early.
Present.
Cheryl Fletcher.
Present.
Vanna Fletcher present. Shirley Tolliver.
Present. Next item on the agenda is the approval of agenda. Are there any corrections to the agenda?
I would like to make a motion to postpone agenda item number 19.
And yes, why?
Because we weren't able to have our special meeting today to talk about the strategic plan, and I think that it might be a part of the strategic plan.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I could support that also.
Just trying to make less work for us.
Would you call the roll so we can take a roll call vote, please?
Okay. So in reference to number 19, roll call for the board on postponing it till we can meet to talk about the strategic plan. Daniel Winston.
No.
Anthony Johnson.
No.
Lori Hicks.
No. Oh, yes.
Misha Early.
No.
Cheryl Fletcher.
Yes.
Amanda Fletcher, yes. Shirley Tolliver.
No. Next item on the agenda, the roll call was no, so we'll do item 19 as written. Next item on the agenda is superintendent communications.
Thank you, Madam President. Congratulations to Thurston High School teacher, as well as our varsity football coach, Mr. Nick Davis, as well as our student athletes from Thurston High School, as they were recognized by Hometown Life as being one of the coaches of the year for our local area. So congratulations to our student athletes from Thurston High School, as well as our very own Mr. Nick Davis. I also wanted to say congratulations to the Student Services Department, who received special recognition last week from Wayne County RESA, particularly our two behavioral coaches in Holly Palmieri, as well as Rachel Wicker, and Lisa Orvitich and Kyla Page. So we were recognized as being one of the icon districts across Wayne County for the work that we're doing when it comes to behavioral support systems for students here in South Redford. So to get countywide recognition is pretty impressive, so hats off to them as well. So that concludes my communications this evening, Madam President.
Next item on the agenda is board communications. Do I have any board members that has?
To the chair.
Yes.
I have something I want to read as board communication. I'm going to read it off the paper. It's easier to stay focused, so I appreciate the time. Back in November, it was brought to the board for discussion, opening our borders to K through 5 instead of the current K through 2. There was much discussion and a multitude of board opinions. The superintendent was asked to do a survey to collect data on the community's input on how they feel, since it is the community at large that elects each board member, and it is the community that has supported our millage and our large bonds. At the meeting in October, the board president volunteered to get a list of voters for South Redford and touch base with the superintendent. To my knowledge, this was not done. The superintendent chose not to comply, and no new information has been brought to the board to further our discussion. We are a district that prides itself on being a data decision-making district, but many times we do not follow through on that. To be a good board member, we need to do our due diligence and collect as much data as possible and make the best decision for the district and our children, not based on our own personal thoughts. Now we have a resolution on our agenda to consider, knowing full well we are ignoring many important factors. I know we need to find a way to boost enrollment and increase revenue. We cannot continue on the path we are on with a huge drawdown of fund equity to balance our budget, and some hard decisions will have to be made in the future. But rushing to put a Band-Aid on a hemorrhaging cut without all the data, to me, is just that, a Band-Aid. We need a plan moving forward. We need to be open and transparent with each other and the superintendent. No backdoor meetings, no voice being heard over another, but working together. We are a body of 7, equals in our voice and our opinion. Our board president is our spokesperson, but needs to make sure she is speaking for the whole board, not her own personal opinions. This board has been split for a while and is not doing what we were elected to do. Bullying goes on. People interrupt other board members that are speaking. They do not go through the chair. Board members do not listen to others' opinions with an open mind, but always have an opinion of their own. Board members speak publicly about being a team and working together, but do not model this. We have become very dysfunctional as a board. It takes every board member on the same page and path to make progress and to make change for the better. Personal agendas and feelings need to be put aside, and we need to do what we're elected to do. We need to listen to each other, ask respectful questions if we do not understand, and stop hiding behind words. We need to be accountable for our own actions rather than trying to place blame. I ask each and every one of my board members one last question. What is the legacy you want to leave when you move on from South Redford? How do you want people to remember you? You're either part of the solution or a big part of the problem. I would ask you to dig deep and figure out which one you are. And if you're even cut out to be a South Redford school board member, thank you for your time.
Next item on the agenda is comments from the audience, topics related to the agenda.
We have one. Miss Catherine Woods. If you would like to speak.
I'm Catherine.
Hi, if you want to come up to the podium to speak. You didn't say what you were speaking on, just that it was related to the agenda.
Oh, that's because I was just, this is my first time. What happened to the podium?
That's okay.
No problem.
Yep.
No problem. My
Yep.
name is Catherine Woods. I am a parent of South Redford for over 26 years now. So my grandkids are in school now. I have 14 kids in the system, grandkids now. Right now I have them at Pierce Middle School, Vandenberg, Adams, and Jefferson. So I am also the president of the PTO over at Pierce Middle School, just starting that off as well. So I'm coming to bring something new to our system, different than what I've seen over these past 26 years, and then these last 2 years, I like to be a part of the change. So I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be saying for that part of it, and I don't know if that's what you want to hear, but I am here about change, and I heard what you said also. I'll tap on that a little bit. I am a person about change, so I'm here to just listen in. This is my first board meeting, so at that level. That concludes what I'm asking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's any other people in the audience that would like to speak on items pertaining to the agenda, could you please fill out a card? It's on the table, and we'll hear you. There are none? All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Do I have a board member willing to adopt the consent agenda?
To the chair,
Yes.
I move the adoption of the following resolution.
Support. It's been moved by Mr. Winston and supported by Mrs. Early. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? No nays. Resolution adopted. Next item on the agenda is presentation of CTE program. Mr. Bob.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I would like to introduce our coordinator from Career Technical Education, who the board has met before, and who's back to join us this evening, and this is Mrs. Keena Goolsby. And so at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Keena and her team to talk with the Board of Education this evening about upcoming attractions as it pertains to Career Technical Education. Ms. Goolsby.
Thank you, Mr. Bob. I'm excited to be here and to share a little bit about CTE. You're welcome to ask questions as well. And so, of course, CTE is about bridging college and career awareness and readiness. And so it does open a world of opportunity for students. If you don't know that CTE, actually the acronym stands for Career Technical Education. And of course, the focus is making sure that students have the opportunity for high demand careers and, of course, most definitely wage. And so there are key components that are involved in CTE, and part of those components, of course, is science, math, and of course, social studies as well. And the core academics are embedded into CTE, so the students do garner credit for that. We also have, of course, the classroom instruction and the laboratory. So the classroom instruction is very hands-on for students, and so that they're able to bridge those actual skills. And then, of course, we have the work-based learning opportunity, which used to be considered co-op many years ago, which I also had a great opportunity to participate in. There's also student leadership. So there are many competitions that students participate in. For Skills USA and so forth, and so there's many competitions that students go, and they actually do quite a few winnings. And then there's soft skills that students are able to garner, and those soft skills are a lot of what the businesses are looking forward to, so that the students know how to speak to their supervisors, they know when to utilize their cell phone and when they shouldn't use their cell phones and so forth, and just how to address their supervisors and be a good working employee. So we have pathways that we began here, and of course, each pathway listed here, except automotive, is a one-year program. So the students are able to garner within 1 year the opportunity for credit, for college credit, and also credential. So for automotive, it's a 2-year program, and the students actually can begin that in their sophomore year. And the rest of the programs, the students are able to begin in their junior year or their senior year. And so, of course, what are the grand benefits of CTE? So there are many grand benefits of CTE, as we can see here. At the age of 18, the students can actually graduate with a credential and certification alongside with their high school diploma. They also are able to partner in on those career skills and move forward to college as well. And so with that, we're able to bridge that connection to the post-secondary education, which we'll be able to see, and impact education for graduation rates. So the post-secondary education that students are able to garner and be welcome into is just a listing. So actually, when the students are able to complete that 1 year of a completer in the CTE program, they are able to take that college credit and move forward into post-secondary education for that career. So we do have articulated agreements with these colleges, which means these students are welcome to attend for Eastern and so forth, as you see posted here, and continue moving forward in their post-secondary education. So which is different than what it used to be as far as the old VOTEC that many of you may be familiar with. And so that is why it is college and career ready. So of course, students are able to garner the work-based learning opportunity. So each student should experience and be exposed to work-based learning within their second year of attending the CTE program. It looks different for various students, and so students can have a job learning credit, which is part of the old co-op what it used to be. So what we have here is that we have businesses that are actually connected to our CTE programs. So which means for welding, there are businesses that students can actually go during the school day and actually go to the business, and that's how they're able to garner the learning credit. After that year of being part in that CT program, the students are able to move forward and have a apprenticeship, in which a lot of times that their college tuition is paid for. And we do have a few students that are actually experiencing that right now and doing very well. But as you also see here, it's not just a learning credit, they can also be mentored, and there's also job shadowing and so forth. So there's various opportunities for students to make sure that they have that work-based learning credit. And so as we know, even though there's a lot of times everyone loves to participate at a business, that is something that some students are able to garner, and then some students are able to actually work alongside with the person at the business, which is shadowing. So the state has noticed that when a student participates in CTE, the graduation rate goes up very highly. And so everything that CTE students do is reported to the state. And so once the students actually graduate from CTE, they have noticed that students actually move forward in post-secondary education, but they also make sure that they graduate at the age of 18. And there's various reasons for that, but mainly because CTE assists students with their college applications and moving forward. And we do track students after they've gone, and we most definitely want to keep in touch with those students, and we're there to assist them in the process. So we noticed that the graduation rate has improved and has increased for school districts across the state of Michigan. So that reporting is from the state. So currently, we do have 252 students right now currently that are participating in CTE programs. We do have about 23% of our girls, our young ladies, that are participating in our programs. And as you see, we have 77% males. We do have, as we say, young girls that are participating in construction trades, which is not a program that we would see a lot of young girls participating in, but they're there and they're participating. And we do have our young males that are also participating in medical skills in those programs as well. Out of Thurston High School students, we have 28% out of the high school body that are participating from 10th to being a senior, so it's 10th through 12th. And of course, as we note that 11th through 12th is our other programs such as our medical skills and welding, construction trades, and hospitality and tourism. But automotive begins at 10th grade, and so that's where the 20% comes from. And so we most definitely welcome those students, and we will continue. And I just want to state also is that we do have with us, I have with me part of my team. I do have with me Ms. Margie McCoy is our CT career counselor. She works directly with the students as well to make sure they're onboarded. And then of course we have our Chef Tony, which many of you may be familiar with, tasted many good food from Chef Tony. He's our hospitality and tourism teacher. And so many of our other teachers will most definitely be welcome for them to be introduced to you guys as well. Are there any questions for me?
I have.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you only focused on Thurston or high schools across the area?
So very good question. So yes, for the starting, yes. So at this moment, we're focused on Thurston High School students. We do plan in a few years to most definitely open the doors for other high school students to participate as well.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Next item on the agenda is discuss Fisher Elementary School and Pierce Middle School moving project. Mr. Bob.
Thank you, Madam President. If it's okay, Madam President, for agenda items number 10 through 13, if we could turn it over to our partner from Barton Mallow, Ms. Kelly Ferguson, who's here to talk with us about these discuss items. We also have our owner's representative, Michelle Kearns, here this evening from Lacole Planners. And so, Madam President, we could either go agenda item by agenda item, or we could turn it over to Kelly and Michelle for items numbers 10 through 13.
I think we should turn it over to Kelly and
All right.
Michelle for items 10 through 13.
First one I'll speak to is 10, and I'll let Kelly do the rest of them. So this is similar to what we came to you last year when we had to do the construction at Adams. We had to hire a moving company to empty out the building and store the supplies and then move it back in the fall. This bid is to do the same thing for portions of Fisher and portions of Pierce. So you can see there's quite a good spread on the bids. Actually, the vendor that we're recommending is Rose Moving, the same one that we had last summer at Adams, and they did a good job for us. So if there's any other questions, but it's a pretty straightforward bid.
Are there any questions for Michelle?
I have a question to the chair.
Yes.
This is a stark difference in price. Do you usually see that, or is that?
If you look back at last year, we had a similar stark difference.
Yeah.
But this is a moving company that has been around for, I've been working with them for 20 years. And they didn't shortcut anything at Adams. And I went to them and said, Jim, you're low again, are you sure? And he said, I got it all. So I'm confident that he'll do what needs to be done.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So I'm coming to you today for 3 different items. The first one is bid pack 11, Jefferson and Vandenberg Elementary. We came to you previously in 2 different board meetings to recommend several contractors for the renovations and addition work at Jefferson and Vandenberg, which we plan to kick off this summer. This is the balance of those contractors. We are coming to you guys with concrete, hard tile, specialties, and mechanical. We were able to use the low bidders in all categories with the exception of hard tile. The hard tile contractor that was initially low was unqualified for the project. And so we had to go to the second low bidder who has everything included. I'm sorry, it's the third low bidder because the first one actually forgot half the bid. But they have everything included that we verified with that. The next one that I wanted to come to you, and I'm going to kind of go over and get asked questions, is for the Fisher, Jefferson, Vandenberg, and Pierce technology. This is the final part of the technology package. And it is for our low voltage contractor. They will be, general AV contractor. They will be doing all of the general AV across the district, pretty much for Jefferson, Vandenberg, Fisher, and Pierce Middle School. Their contract will span getting everything completed and wrapped up. We had an extensive post-bid interview process with them, and there wasn't quite a significance between them and the next bidder, but they have everything included. We did verify they had everything included, so we are good to go and confident with that price. And our final price was, or the final thing that we're coming to you guys for, is for Pierce Middle School, Part 2. So this is the final recommendation for Pierce Middle School, which will wrap up our recommendations for that remodeling project. I know you had a lot of kids in all these different schools, so you'll be happy to know. I think at every school that you mentioned, except for Adams, they'll all be getting starting construction this summer on those projects.
If I may, what will you be adding to Pierce Middle School?
Pierce, we're renovating. There's no addition that's going to happen there, but we are going to be renovating extensively. It'll look really nice. Thank you. But yes, once again, we went through the post-bid review process with our with Michelle, as well as our architecture partners, TMP, the engineers, as well, and everything was included. The only one that we did not go for the low bid was the carpet and resilient flooring, and that's because the original low bid that we received for that, they did not have some of the items included in their pricing. So we wanted to make sure that we had a complete scope. But other than that, everything seems to be copacetic. I will say we were pretty much on target for budget for Pierce. For Jefferson and Vandenberg, we came slightly under budget, which was great to hear. And for technology, we were overall right on budget on our tech expenses.
Are there any questions?
It's not really a question, just verification. These are all coming out of the bond.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that is correct.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry for missing last time, but I was in
That's
Texas
okay.
for the game.
Whatever. Whatever.
We appreciate the follow-through.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing home the national title.
Next item on the agenda is consider Pierce Middle School remodeling project part 1. Mr. Bob.
Thank you, Madam President. At the board meeting on January 8th, 2024, the board discussed the Pierce Middle School remodeling project part 1. Bids were solicited and received for the work. The companies that are recommended for the work required are listed below. And a 10% contingency, total expenses not to exceed $2,750,453 is requested to cover any unforeseen costs associated with the project. The bid award would be paid for out of the bond proceeds from 2021. Madam President, a resolution is attached for board consideration.
Do I have a board member willing to adopt the resolution?
I move the resolution.
Do I have a support?
Support.
It's been moved by Mrs. Hicks and supported by Mr. Winston. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? There are none. Resolution adopted. Next item on the agenda, consider Jefferson and Vandenberg addition and remodeling project part 2.
Thank you, Madam President. At the board meeting on January 8th, 2024, the board discussed the Jefferson and Vandenberg addition and remodeling projects part 2. Bids were solicited and received for the work. The companies that are recommended for the work required are listed there below. During the post-review process, it was determined that the low bidder for bid category 11-8, painting, did not meet the standards of South Redford. The second lowest bidder is being recommended for the work of this bid category. There was a typographical correction to the January 8th, 2024 discussion line item 1120, asphalt and concrete paving. Asphalt Specialties Incorporated, which was listed in the discussion summary for $255,950. The correct amount, per the bid summary, is $507,500. And the bid total with the contingency was accurately reflected in the January 8, 2024 discussion summary. A 10% contingency, total expenses not to exceed $2,673,472 is requested to cover any unforeseen costs associated with the project. This bid award would also be paid for out of the 2021 bond. Madam President, a resolution is attached for board consideration.
Do I have a board member willing to adopt the resolution?
Madam President,
Yes.
I move the adoption of the following resolution.
Do I have a support?
Support.
It's been moved by Mrs. Early and supported by Mr. Winston. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? 0 nays, 7 ayes. Resolution adopted. Next item on the agenda. Discuss and consider CTE program equipment. Mr. Bob.
Thank you, Madam President. As we quickly approach the time frame to outfit our spaces for the arrival of our students in transitioning those programs that Mrs. Goolsby just referenced during her presentation over to the Innovation Center that the board's had the opportunity to tour, we're at the time frame of outfitting those spaces as best we possibly can. And thanks to outstanding recommendations from our very own Chef Tony and our very own Chris, our welding instructor that the board met as well, you see hospitality equipment from All American Restaurant Equipment for $73,785.44, as well as a listed itemized, requisition for purchase, as well as the welding equipment that was recommended from Mr. Chris, our welding teacher from Air Gas, and they worked closely with both Ms. Goolsby as well as Ms. Kearns of LaPole Planners. And so that equipment from Air Gas to outfit that space is $367,302. And these equipment purchases would also be paid for out of the bond. And so, Madam President, that is why you are seeing at the board table this evening both to discuss and to consider. And so, as you know, we have several representatives here from the career technical education realm to answer any questions that the board may possibly have this evening as we think about outfitting these spaces for the soon arrival of our Thurston High School students to our new exciting spaces.
Before I call for the resolution, are there any questions? Mrs. Hicks?
I understand that these facilities will be strictly for students or FTEs during the course of the day. Is there any intent on renting these facilities after hours?
No, not at this time. Not at this time. And if there was, we would have conversation as a board, but no, not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
To the chair.
Yes.
My question is for Chef Tony. Could you talk about the equipment and what input you had?
Sure.
If you're getting all you think you need for your program?
Yes, going brand new to our building and our facility. We did go through, we started this back in June, and we went through, since we really don't have anything to start with. I think the list is pretty accurate. I think that there's probably going to be some things that we forgot along the way that we'll make a list and give it to Ms. Goolsby. And just like always, all of you know that I've been in CTE all my career. It is fluid. It's going to be something that all of you are going to be a part of in a constant way. Just that's how it worked, and that's how other CTE programs work that I know. So very excited program. I've been taking a look at it, the equipment of what we've ordered and approved, and things that are coming along nicely. And but we do need those plates and forks and everything else so we can start going. As I said before, to many people, if someone asks me what's the best thing that everyone can do to bring the CTE program together and be successful, is to just have the community involved at 100%. And so I'm pretty proud to be here. Very happy that you all have me here. So thank you for that. And I think the equipment list is pretty accurate, and we do have to follow. I think that's going to be a big surprise to some people in the district, that we have to follow the health codes. Since the restaurant got put on, we are going to be under the health codes of the health department. They're going to be with us for approval to get things up and started. We had to submit, way in the beginning, we had to submit our plans, and they're going to come in, take care of that. Then they're going to be inspecting us twice a year or more without notice. And we have to follow those rules. What we don't want, what I don't want, is to ever have a negative review of something that we can have control of. And so moving forward, things are looking really good. Any other questions?
Are there any other other questions? Thank you so much.
I do have one more.
Yes.
I know when you were at Wayne Westland, you had kind of opened it up for some of the community members to come in and be served.
Yes, sir.
Is that in the plan?
I believe it is. Those are discussions that I'm sure we're going to have, and I'll be a part of. That's not my, I guess that's not me to approve that. You do own a restaurant. I think if you asked me what is the best way to train our students, is to have a real life person standing in front of them. We learned that through COVID, where we did a lot of mock, we did a lot of videos, we did a lot of everything except a real person. If you keep track, which I was at Wayne Westland for 25 years, so you still hear everything. They're still not. The whole community has been separated from the center, and they're not open for business. They're trying to get open. They're not having success. So I do believe that's the discussion, probably Ms. Gooseby and the superintendent and all of you, of when that's going to take part. There's 53 seats in the dining room, so I would hope that we would invite the community in to really help us train our students.
Okay, I was just curious if it was going to be similar.
Ms. Gooseby, do you have anything to say to that? I mean, I believe so. I'm hoping that, some of the people that are in our district will help us train our students and come in for lunch, or, I don't have those times and that schedule right now. But that's just one part. There's 4 sectors to hospitality and tourism. And that's one part is the food and beverage. And so we're ready for that. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I have a question, I think it would be for Jason or Michelle maybe. I would assume some of the equipment we're gonna be getting with this bond money probably has warranties and stuff. But once the warranty expires, what fund would that be coming out of if we had to replace something?
So in those instances, it would come out of operational funds. Yep. Once the warranties expire, we own it, just like owning a car. After the warranty's expired, it's ours. So wonderful question, and that would come out of operational funds. Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Do I have a board member willing to adopt the resolution?
Madam President,
Yes.
I move the adoption of the following resolution.
Support.
It's been adopted by Mrs. Early and supported by Mr. Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? 0 nays, 7 ayes. Resolution adopted.
Madam President,
Yes.
if I may, we have our CTE folks that were kind enough to spend some of their evening here with us, and also representatives of the bond initiative. They're certainly welcome to stay. It's certainly at the pleasure of the board, but if they would like to get about the rest of their evening, perhaps not here in the boardroom, I would leave that to the board's discretion.
If you would like, you may be.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
And thank
See you.
you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.
We're going to have our speaker, Mrs. Washington, speak. And
Is she speaking right now?
Oh, okay. It's just a general
No,
question.
it's
I have two questions.
That was my question.
Yes.
Hi, good evening, Superintendent Board. So I missed the beginning because I was at the back door last time we came to the meeting and you guys were in the back, so that's my apologies. Go Lions first and foremost. So my first question is for number 17. You guys are discussing some board policy updates, and I wanted to know which policies are you guys updating and how often do you update them?
We'll answer that.
Okay. And did you want me to go ahead with 18 as well? My question for 18? Or just
Yes,
wait until you
might
guys
as
talk
well.
about it?
Yes.
Okay, so for 18, you guys also have that you're discussing some standing committees. I would like to know what committees those are, who participates in them, and why did you guys create those? That's it? That's all right.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discuss board policy updates. And then Ms. Hicks, and we're gonna turn it over to
Flusher, because
Flusher.
I was not part of
Right.
this, where I am now
Yes.
going forward, going to be that.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right, the policy committee met before the break in December. Right before we met to review things that were sent to us by Neola, the whole board was sent out the proposed changes and asked if they had any input. We received nothing back from the board ahead of time, but the committee met, we went through it. Most all the policy changes are law-driven legally. It's gone through legal counsel, everything. We don't mess with the words of everything. It's been approved and it reads just like the law. And the board should have received the changes again after the committee met, and they're pretty straightforward. So, unless the board has any questions on our process or what happened. I mean, the whole committee met, we had new committee members, we're well represented through the district, everybody had a chance for input, but in the end, it's pretty much legal. And I know there was a question out there, how often do we do it? It happens about twice a year, or when the law changes and it's necessary to do it and have something in place, like some of this has to be in place, like tomorrow, this week. Chris can help me that it's coming up where it has to be on our books and recorded and approved, legally through the state. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, it helps me about how frequently you guys have to update it.
Right.
Yes, it does. And
Yeah.
then Chris gave me his information, so.
All right.
Thank
To
you.
the chair.
Yes.
Can you also explain to her the type of people, like the different levels that are involved in that committee?
Okay. The committee is made up of 3 board members, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, our curriculum director, all levels of our administrative team. There's representatives from our elementary school, our middle school, and our high school, our security officer, our financial director. There's probably about 12 of us that meet, and everybody has an input, and everybody's there to be able to answer questions as we discuss any changes that might be coming down, to see how that would impact throughout the district. So did I confuse you, or does that help?
Well, I guess when you use committees as plural, it makes me think that there's multiple committees, not just one. So when you say that there's 12 participants, is
Yeah.
that 12 participants on each committee, or is that the total number of
Just on the
participants?
policy committee, because it's
Policy
such a
committee.
big,
Got it.
major,
Okay, I missed that.
law-driven committee that everybody in every aspect is represented throughout the district. So it
Okay.
is one committee with about 12 members.
For the policies. Got
Mhm.
it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
To the chair.
Yes.
Since this is just a discuss, I assume that we would vote on this at an upcoming board meeting?
Yes.
And then follow-up question, how soon after we vote on it is it updated in our policy manual and online where people can view it?
All right, it becomes immediately effective. At the moment the board votes that they accept the changes, it's immediately effective. How quick it gets there is our trustee cohort, Chris, how quickly he can get it online and that, but it is already in motion, like if any were to question it. As soon as the board votes on it, it's active immediately. I think he wants to say something.
So this particular series of policies that are being adopted have to be in place by February 13th. You'll be voting on them on February 12th. They are lined up and ready for Neola. However, we submit a disposition sheet, everything's submitted to Neola. It is really at their discretion. They're the ones that have to make the back-end updates and changes. So although you enact it on that day, we might not see it online until Neola gets to it, and they're cycling lots of school districts, so it's really their beck and call.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Ms. Washington.
No problem. Thank you, Madam President.
Next item on the agenda is discuss standing committees. At the board meeting on January 8, 2024, the board tabled the assignment to 2 standing committees: liaison to Michigan Association of School Boards, Legislative Relations Network, and National School Board Association, Federal Relations Network, and the Committee to Review Facilities Rentals. The board will discuss the South Redford Board of Education standing committees. I would like to say that the liaison to the Michigan Association of School Board, the purpose is to keep school boards abreast of what is going on at Michigan Association of School Boards, and to get more school boards involved and to have more school boards attend our conferences and CBA classes. Now, who wants to start?
To the chair?
Yes?
I just have a suggestion. We're getting ready for the orientation operation manual to be reviewed by the new standing committee, and these are housed inside of that. So to not have to keep repeating ourselves and added work to the board, my recommendation would be to let that committee go through each, maybe update it, see there might be other things as you process through, and bring their recommendation back to the board for discussion at that time. Instead of discussing these 2, have the orientation committee meet, and there might be other things that we overlooked on that day, and do it in sequence. That's just my suggestion for it to run smoother.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I have a question about it first.
Go ahead.
Committees, there should be some kind of stipulations and deadlines on how long something can sit in a committee.
Well, what we'll do is we'll look at that with our orientation and operations committee when we come to that. And then we'll bring things back as we do that, okay?
And also committees, when things show themselves that need to be fixed or tweaked, or whatever word you want to use for it, having a committee just sit idly and wait for that to happen,
Well,
you still have the same people doing it over and over and over again.
and that was one of the reasons why we sort of changed our committees, because we want everybody to know how to and what to do with our committees. And another thing too is that we normally give the board opportunity to ask questions after we come back with what we have discovered and what we have decided to change. We don't, and then we give the board the opportunity to vote.
in these committees, who determines all the people that's in the committee?
I did this time.
I mean, as far as what the people on the committee, like say, for instance, you had some other people that was in the committee that's not on the board. Who decides those people?
Well, that depends on the committee itself. We have 3 people that sit on each committee because we have to be careful about the open meetings. So we only have 4 people that sit on the committees. And sometimes the committees themselves decide that among the 3 of them, who, if they want the, like maybe our principals or to
That's
come.
what I'm after. Who decides?
The committees.
The committee.
Yes.
The 3 that's on the committee decides who
Yes.
can be in the committee.
Right. Anyone else?
To the chair?
Yes?
Can I say, you know, in retrospect to Mr. Johnson's thing, it's done in collaboration with our superintendent. It's for those committees that have outside, like administrators and stuff, it usually is a joint working effort with a recommendation from our superintendent who he would like to see or who might be interested, other administrators. It's not strictly the committee's say, you know.
That's, you said recommendation, but who decides who's in that committee? He does, or you, one of us?
It's always just gone through recommendation through the superintendent. We've never brought that part of it back to the board, but that's something, like Mrs. Tolliver said, when the orientation meets and you get a chance, because every board member will get that manual to get their input in, that's something I would make sure that you put your thoughts in there so they can discuss that and bring back an answer, and the whole board will discuss that. You know, if it's something that the board as a whole wants to see board approval, because there are some committees that we have in the district, like the sex ed committee and certain things, depending on a policy and law, that the board has to approve who sits on those committees. But just regular committees,
I get that.
yeah, we don't have anything in place, but that doesn't mean we can't with discussion if that's something the board thinks is a.
You're talking about the board, you say his recommendation, but what if you don't agree with his recommendation? Who decides who goes in that committee?
The board should do it. We would bring it back for discussion, if that's something you want to see. We will go through the process, be implemented, and it would come back, and you would have say at that time whether you agree or not.
Okay.
You know, your voice will be heard.
Shirley?
Yes.
Can I also try and clarify, and maybe this would help you understand it, is that when the committee meets and they're bringing back a recommendation that isn't saying this is the final product, you still get input.
I understand that part.
Okay.
I understand that portion. I just want to know how was the people selected to be in the committee that the board is in charge of. Because you have 3 board members and you have 10 people in this committee. Who picks those 10 people to go in the committee? You said he has a recommendation. A recommendation is not anything, really. It's just a recommendation.
Exactly.
It's an opinion. Who picks those 10 people that go in that committee?
Well, not sex, but policy is the only one that we have.
A large committee.
Yeah.
Otherwise, our committees are
Just us.
are just 3, just us, just as board members. It's the
But
only one
there's
that's
a committee
different.
with a large amount of people in it. Who picks those people is what I'm still asking that same question. Who
Right.
picks those people?
9 times out of 10, the recommendation from the superintendent, they sit on that.
And if they don't go by his recommendation, who picks those people? Those people that sits on those 3 people pick the people?
No, 9 times out of 10, the superintendent, if he recommends the people for the committee, we normally go by
Normally,
that.
if you don't, who picks them?
It will be the three people.
We've never had that question
No,
never
before.
happened.
It's
but-
never
Sorry.
happened, and it will be the three.
I mean,
people.
it's a good thought process.
Yeah.
I just want to know, there's no answer to this question.
Has it ever happened, I guess? Has that ever happened where we did, okay, so that's.
Since I've been here, I've asked a few questions,
Yeah,
that's never happened.
So it doesn't seem like every recommendation seems like they take the person that's recommended, so it hasn't been an opportunity for anyone outside of the recommendations to ever be put into the pool, so.
Okay, something needs to be put in place, that something else has to take place for them, because that shouldn't be absolute. That needs to be brought up before a vote, that can't be absolute. If they don't take his recommendation,
So what
then they
we'll
can put
do,
whatever he want, whatever they want to put in there.
what
See this
we'll
one?
do, we will take in consideration that we will put something in place for that scenario. Yes, for that.
Well, my
Yes.
suggestion would be how many people you want in that committee.
Well, you can.
Each person on that, the board members should have a selection to make it evenly along with his recommendation.
Well, okay, and we'll put something in place,
No,
but
that's just-
normally,
Yeah,
we can only have, if it's just the board members, it can only be three.
exactly.
Okay. Because we can't violate the Open Meetings Act.
I understand.
Okay. Yes, Mrs. Early.
You said we should wait, we should table it again until the orientation manual meeting. When does that meeting occur usually? Or is it to discretion?
To the chair?
Yes.
I can follow up, maybe help Mrs. Early. Normally, that meets in February. I know Amanda was assigned that job as chair, because I stepped down and not chairing any of those committees at this time. I know she has reached out to other people on the committee, other board members. She's heard back from one, to my knowledge, not the other one, trying to set up the meeting in February. There's been a breakdown on communication, but she's in the process of, normally we meet in February. And she's asked me how did that committee work before, and it usually is, once the meeting is established, the board will get sent a copy, usually electronically by Chris, the orientation operation manual ahead of time. So you can start looking at it as board members and jotting down any changes or updates you see. You have the chance to get it back to your committee and your community chair before they even meet, so they can discuss what your thoughts are, what changes you're thinking about. They will discuss and meet, come up with a compromise, bring it back to the board for a formal discussion. These are what they're recommending, these are the changes, this is what they took in, and then the board will have another chance to discuss at the table.
And then consider.
And then consider, right, so
So
there's.
that meeting is in February, but the next meeting for this particular thing to consider is February 12th, right? So
For
if we table it.
policy, you mean? Or-
No, our next board meeting would be a consider of what we're talking about
Oh, for
right
the
now,
standing
right?
committees?
Yes.
I requested that there's no
No,
reason.
yeah, I know you.
I don't know where we
So I'm
ended up.
just looking at a timeline in my head right
Yeah,
now, so.
it should be in place by the beginning of March at the latest. It should take about 4 weeks to turn it around through committee
Right, so
discussion,
then that brings
whatever.
it back to March,
Right,
right?
right.
Instead of getting done with this February 12th. I know you said there was extra work that had to be done if we changed it now.
Because there's a good chance they could change it again in committee, as they update the thing. My suggestion was just to do it all at once,
So,
so
but
it
this
goes smoothly.
discussion today will come with the consider February 12th for standing committee, for this item, item 18.
Standing. Both of
Both.
them?
We're discussing both right now,
Unless we
right?
choose to table it.
Unless we choose
And
to
let
take-
the orientation manual as a board. It's at the will of the board.
And that will push us back up.
'Cause there's-
Thanks for I just wanted to know the clarification.
Yeah,
the dates and
yeah.
stuff.
You okay now? Okay. Is there any other discussion on number 18 and 17? Okay, next item on the
So what's
agenda.
the will of the board then?
Well, first of all, we gotta get
Yeah,
Oh,
so,
no, the question that Cheryl asked was to table it. She's asking what's the will of the board on that subject.
Mhm.
She said unless we take.
She wants to table it.
Right.
so do you want to discuss this today or table it for our committee?
It's going to come back to the board either way.
I think we should, well, what's the will of the board?
I would table it till after the operations manual is reviewed.
I don't want to table it. I think the timeline is pushing it again.
Okay, what's the will of the board?
To the chair, I guess my question would be, what does the timeline matter? Like, why is everything always too fast or too slow? Because like another board member said, we don't really have anywhere written when stuff is supposed to be done, and that was a question I had as a new board member. The calendar of when committees meet and when they're done meeting and when stuff's supposed to be submitted, and like, we don't have that. So it's really hard to try to figure stuff out.
Well, I'm on that committee for, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I did kind of ask for a couple of board members to go through the orientation manual and just pick out some things that we needed to look at. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but that's not this though. I do know that. This is specifically to table number 18 until the orientation meeting has been had and we run it through that. Right, that's what we're saying? Or
Yeah.
no? I mean, is that right?
I'm extra confused now. You asked certain board members who aren't on the committee to review the
No,
orientation?
I asked board members to go through the orientation, because do you remember when we talked about some of the things, that was when we were on the committee, we talked about some of the things that we were gonna look at.
You
and-
mean last year?
Yes, and I asked the board members, I asked a couple board members to just go through it and give us some feedback as to what we should, or what do they think about some of the things that,
Well, you didn't ask all board members.
well, no, I didn't. So, but what I'd like to do now is, you don't want to table it, what do you want to do, AJ?
No.
What do you want to do, Daniel? So you're talking about,
Both things on number 18.
well, we're only discussing this, we're not gonna vote on this.
But I'm saying,
yet.
if she wants to table it until the orientation meeting today, so we would have to take a vote on that, right, or no?
To the chair.
Yes.
We discuss and then consider, everybody's clear on that, we like to do that separately, but we don't necessarily have to consider the following board meeting. Sometimes it takes a couple of board meetings to get all our data together and ask the questions and then come back. I mean, I don't see, there's no, like, the questions have been asking like deadlines and how do we do this. I think those are all good questions that can go through the committee when the board as a whole is given that operation manual and can mark it up. Every board member needs to, what AJ's feeling, what Misha's feeling, what Daniel's
Exactly.
feeling, not just pick and choose which board meetings to look at, but there is no deadline for these two committees. And
No,
there might
yeah, I
be
know
more.
there's no
My-
deadline.
You know,
That- yeah, that
my
wasn't
thought
what I was
is,
getting at.
you know, so it's coming back to the board anyhow. That's just my thought, to streamline it, because there might be more committees that need to be updated, their explanations, so new board members understand what their job is. who's on the committee, what are they doing, and kind of a calendar. What months do we normally do that? So we know, that come February, orientation should be reviewing. Policy does it this way. I just think it should be streamlined through the committee. It's coming back to the board anyhow for discussion. I mean, we could do that. The committee could meet and say, hey, no, that's not gonna be our recommendation. We're gonna be discussing it again. So it's whatever the will of the board is. I just don't think we need to double discuss.
Right, and she's asking, or you're asking, what the will of the board is for this specific.
Well, normally.
Point of order.
Yes.
If this is a discuss, we're not supposed to be taking even a remote vote on the issue.
Okay, to Chair, I fully understand that, because that's part of my cloudiness on this side of my brain.
Okay.
So Cheryl is asking for something, we don't have to answer it today, is what you're saying. Gotcha, okay. Sorry, can't buy
Thank you. I know that only one person has gotten back. And if we're gonna do this in February, we're going to do this in February. If Amanda's gonna meet as the chair, and we're gonna do this in February.
Well, that means
No.
when the date has been picked, that those 3 board members should attend. Otherwise, that meeting still should
And I
happen.
agree, 100%.
Okay,
And that is still not talking about this yet.
no.
Gotcha again, okay. Thank you, Lorraine.
So, Amanda, I know I didn't respond. It's okay. In February, you pick the date and I'll be there.
It has to be what works for the whole committee, but I can appreciate
But you said only one person. So, whatever day you pick it in February, I'll be there and we'll do that. And Lori, yes, we.
I did respond that the first part of
Okay.
February I'll be out of town, but I'll be back.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. Okay. So, and as far as, we're not gonna be trying to push it, because we want the orientation and operations manual, because there's a lot of stuff in there that we need to look at.
To the chair?
Yes.
I guess my thing would be whether we discuss it now or at our meeting. I would like to discuss all of the committees, mainly being that we have 11 committees, and I've done research into how many committees and what kind of committees other schools have in Michigan as well as Wayne County. And we should have between 3 to 5 committees,
I understand.
not 11.
I understand
So
that.
that's why
And I do understand.
I don't want to just talk
that.
about the 2. So either whenever we discuss it, I would like
And we will
to be able to
discuss
discuss
that.
all of them.
We will discuss that. Okay. Is there anybody else that want to speak on this? Okay. Next item on the agenda is consider expansion of elementary school open enrollment program. Mr. Bob.
Thank you, Madam President. At the meeting on October 23rd, 2023, the board discussed the South Redford Schools of Choice program for out-of-district students in kindergarten through grade 2, which has proven to be a viable option for generating additional revenue for the district. South Redford currently has 505 out-of-district students currently enrolled in grades K through 12 through the Schools of Choice program. Once enrolled through the Schools of Choice program in grades K through 2, a student may remain enrolled in the district through grade 12 or until they are withdrawn from the district. The amount of money that the South Redford School District has available for its educational programs is directly related to the number of students enrolled within the district. Over the past several years, the student enrollment here within the South Redford School District has been declining. The district's total student count from September 2020 to September 2023 has declined by 323 students. This decrease in revenue due to the loss of 323 students is over $3 million, and based on a per pupil foundation allowance of $9,608 per student. Losing revenue through the loss of students reduces the amount of money available for our educational programs that we have to offer for students here within the South Redford School District. The most viable option for generating additional revenue is to explore ways to increase student enrollment here within the South Redford School District. Through board approval, the South Redford Schools of Choice program for out-of-district students can be expanded to include grades 3 through 5. The expansion of the district's open enrollment program would allow all students from grades K through 5 to enter within our district and further expand the district's revenue for programs for our students. Madam President, a resolution is attached for board consideration.
Okay. We discussed this in October. Is there any board member that wants to add anything to that discussion?
I do.
Yes.
Like I mentioned before, so if I have 3 children and 2 of them are K through 5, and I have a student that is an 8th grader or a 9th grader child, the only ones that can come in and open a room is K through 5, but not the 9th grader. Same household.
Yes.
You know, stipulations given of the school that they're coming from, he has or she has to have a certain level of, you know, she's not, or he not being kicked out of school for, you know, a variety of things that shouldn't be, but that, I'm not taking my child to this school and then still have to send my other child that way.
Yes.
That's what I want to know, is that?
I can't. So there is an exception if we work with districts where we can attain a waiver. And so we can certainly do that. Or we can also offer our Eagle Scholars program or our SOAR program. So we do have some pathways, but it's not just, you know, blanketed. Because this is one of the 2 ways that we have to report to the state what it is that the board has elected to do. So there are some options, but those would be the 3 options. Is attaining a waiver from the resident district, releasing that student to come here, or through the Eagle Scholars program, or through the SOAR program. So it would have to be through one of those 3 vehicles.
You know, as a parent, I can't go to that school and says, I'm taking my child out of this school and we are leaving.
You can.
I don't have to give them a reason why I'm taking my child out of this school. I mean, I don't know, that's why I'm asking. Can I just, if I come to this school and says, hey, my child is a 9th grader, I'm pulling my kid out of this school because I am whatever. They telling me I can't do that, or
you can do that. And oftentimes if families elect to do that, and if they're going to go to another neighboring district, then there is a form that a parent and a guardian can fill out. And there is a series of reasons that you can mark or not mark. And then a district can either approve it or not. Because if a district doesn't approve it, then the receiving district cannot receive funding. So in most school districts, there's a pretty cooperative understanding to try to do what's right by the student and by the family in those instances. Where most school districts are willing to work collaboratively with one another to do what's in the best interest of the student. You know, it used to be more of a thing quite some time ago where those releases would not get approved, or there used to be a point in time where districts would charge tuition differences. But there's been less and less of that. So, for the reasons that you just talked about. You know, so in fact, on a lot of forms, there is like a parental hardship piece.
in case a parent would ask me, I would be able to tell them something.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
Any other questions?
To the chair.
Yes.
I have a few questions, but I guess my biggest concern with this resolution is with the wording kind of sounding like it's a guarantee that opening up the enrollment will increase enrollment. We're assuming, because we don't have any data, that we're gonna get a whole rush of students to enroll and that that's gonna make up for the students that we lost. But we're also only focusing on the money aspect of it. And we haven't had any data or discussion about the success for the students that we have, how that would affect them, or for the success of the students that would be coming here. So,
Are you finished?
for that's my first question, I guess.
I just wanted to respond to that one. Well, go ahead, finish up.
Finish.
That's my first question.
Yeah, she
is
just
just asking more about student achievement than money.
Continue, you said that was your first question.
Yeah. Okay, I guess my second question would be, as I mentioned earlier, this whole thing could be discussed during our strategic plan. So I would hate to vote on a decision right now and then we have to revisit it again and vote again, because enrollment and numbers and attendance and stuff, that's all gonna be part of the strategic plan anyway, when we meet with Debbie. So we're making more work for ourselves. We're probably gonna have this conversation more than once. And that's why I wanted to postpone this item.
One of the reasons why I voted not to postpone it was because I'm under the impression that we have to let Wayne Reese know what our intentions are. And it'll be past February, what is it? The date?
It isn't, it's during the month of February.
So that was why I voted for this decision.
To the chair?
Yes,
I don't want to interrupt if you're still talking, but when you're done, I would like to speak.
go ahead.
I have a question, and it's geared toward both the board president and the superintendent. We did have a discussion in October. We had opinions all over the place. Some of the board feels we should open the borders totally through high school, some middle school. We didn't come to a consensus, but there was no pushback about doing a survey, and you can go back and watch the tape. Even you as the board president supported that, and nothing was done between October and now, and this appears on the agenda, knowing that there was a deadline and we wanted more information. Who made the decision that the board didn't need more data, and why weren't we all considered and kept up to date? And why did things change?
Well, first of all, as far as the survey, there was no survey done when we went through K-2. And there were, and that was one of the reasons why, and Mr. Bob, you can also attest to why you and the cabinet with the
Yes.
survey and the seniors in our community.
All right, to the chair, I'm really confused. Okay, no, we didn't do a formal, but that was 12 years ago, and time has changed. Needs are changing. Board members have said needs are changing. We need to look at all avenues of change. But what I'm saying, we asked specifically for a survey. We weren't updated. Nobody came back to report to the board, well, this is not the best interest of the district or the board. And my question is, why? Why are some voices heard? Why are others? Who's making these lateral decisions without even updates or bringing it to the board? That is my concern. Decisions are being made by whoever's doing it, but I don't know if some of my board is getting information, but I'm not. I had received no updates, no nothing since October with our first discussion, and we didn't decide on anything as a board. But all of a sudden, it's a resolution, so that's all I have to say. There is definitely a breakdown of communication and keeping people in the loop. What one knows, we all know. Don't blindside people. And we're doing a poor job as a whole of communicating. Because I have had no updates. If I missed something, I apologize. Unless somebody can show me an update that we got from a board. Some of our thoughts were totally disregarded and somebody made decisions. And that's not how a board works.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Fletcher. Mr. Winston.
To the chair. I remember when I first joined this board, one of my first meetings was when the superintendent committee was meeting about extending the time of our current superintendent. And the committee came back and said, we do not want to give him extra years. At that meeting, I remember exactly a resolution coming, and I knew nothing about it as a board member. And so, once again, as I said last board meeting, it's very frustrating for me to hear the back and forth about how we do things. That was my first introduction to this board of, oh, we don't want to extend our superintendent, but guess what? We have a resolution that we voted on against the committees doing what they wanted to do, and it was passed. And I knew nothing as a new board member about this resolution. So if we're going to stay on board about everyone knows, let's do that. Let's not play this game of playing favoritism. I don't do the favoritism thing. I stick to whatever we say we're going to do. So with all due respect, Ms. Fletcher, that's not what we do at this board table. I knew nothing about that resolution. And about 5 or 6 board members knew that was coming, but I didn't as a new board member. So we don't always keep things above board. Board members do talk. That was my first introduction to this board table. Resolutions coming up about a committee who said, we don't want to do superintendent getting no more years. And we said, yes, we are. Resolution. Let's vote on it right now. And it was passed to give him 2 more years. So it's not consistent, Ms. Fletcher. It's not. And so if we're going to do consistency, let's do it. But if we're not, let's not pull it out when we choose to pull it out, because to me, it makes us look even worse when we do this. Ms. Hicks has something to say, and I want to hear what she has to say, because I respect what she has to say for things.
Was the contract that you were talking about, Mr. Bobs?
No.
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 Who is?
Brian.
Brian didn't get an extension.
Yes, he did.
He did.
Yes, he did. It was my first introduction to this great board. He did. I was sitting right over there, and the committee said we do not want to give him more years. And a resolution came from under the table and said, well, we do as a board. And I voted no because I was shocked because I knew nothing about this resolution. And it was
I was
passed.
thinking of a different time. I'm sorry.
Yep, and that's fine. And it was passed. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know this was coming. I was looking around the table shocked because I'm like, I thought we didn't do this way. But some board members knew because some board members were like, yes, yes, yes. And I was like, no, this isn't how we host a function per what we say we do. So once again, all I'm saying is this. I love this board, but we can't keep playing these games of policy, procedures, except when it benefits what I want to do, then we get together and have conversations and vote on things. So let's stop doing this, y'all, as a board. If we're going to keep it all above board, let's do that. But if we're not, let's not keep playing games, because like I said, my first introduction was this. Committee, say no. Resolution says yes. And I'm done.
Chair.
Mr. Johnson.
All right, back to the children. Mr. Bob just said that 300 plus we've lost. And to change the dynamics of our open enrollment, if we were to, and Ms. Fleischer said it's about dollars, we're making it about dollars. It's more than just that, because, and as far as data driven, we've gotten the data over of how things have changed since COVID and how they're testing and this, that. They don't test the kids that come from out of the district separate from the way they test the kids that's in the district. These kids are together in the schools. So if we're 300 plus short and we get 100, that has nothing to do with money. It's bringing in kids to come in here and get a good education. That's what the bottom line is for me. So open enrollment for more children to come in from out of district is a win-win regardless. These kids are getting a better education from someplace they might come from, and it might be more convenient for the parents to bring all their kids together instead of sending their kids all over the place. And I speak from experience because my children went to daycare center here all the way through high school, and I have grandchildren in the district now. That was in elementary school, now in Pierce. So I'm speaking from an educational standpoint. Can things get better? Yes. Can we tweak things a little more? Yes. But to keep back burning, put this on the back burner, we're back burning our children. And our children don't need to be back burned because they're growing up. Time is crucial in today's society. Education is power. Still remains the same. So just opening it up, and with the stipulations that Mr. Bob spoke earlier on about how kids that are out of that enrollment can still come here. It's a win-win situation for everybody.
So, I don't personally think it's about money. Do we need money to run this district? Absolutely. We do. You know, but those numbers are alarming to me. In 3 years, we've lost 300, you know, over 300 children. That's a lot to me. And I've heard people say more work twice. We don't want to do more work while we're sitting at the table, but I mean, these are children we are talking about, and we are governed and chosen to make sure that they have a healthy education. We can do that. And if we can open our doors to receive money and also receive these children to educate. We have the Innovation Center coming, we have all of these things happening, but if we don't have any kids to fill it, what is the point in spending tens of millions of dollars, you know, upgrading everything and getting everything ready for the next generation of children, or current generation that's in here right now? Work is something we're just gonna have to do at this table, no matter if we go back to reading about it or go back to changing things. It's supposed to do, we're supposed to be doing that. Stuff should not remain the same because nobody wants to go back and look. So to me, K-5 opening it is not much different than K-2. Or K-2 already, SOAR, GSRP, ESP. There are several ways that we already are open district, and I don't see what adding 3 grades will hurt or harm that.
Thank you. So now we are going to vote.
To the chair?
Yes.
I feel like what I said was misinterpreted in 2 different ways. First of all, when I said about the money, that's how the resolution is worded. That's not my words. The resolution is only talking about money, not about student achievement. And second of all, when I say it makes more work for us, I mean, just as another board member had said, if time is of the essence, why are we making decisions that we're gonna have to go back and relook at and remake? Because again, this is gonna come up with the strategic planning when we meet with Debbie. It is. And we have not been provided enough data to make a good vote on this. I don't know why you're sighing while I'm talking, but we haven't gotten any data really that we've asked for, and everything that's been said has been personal opinions. It's not data. We could have looked at other schools surrounding us. We could have looked at RU. They're open K-10. We could have asked them, how has their open enrollment been on student achievement, or on funding, or on any other aspect? But we didn't. We didn't do a survey on the community. We didn't do a survey of the teachers. We don't even know if the teachers we have can handle the extra caseload. We don't know if we have enough teachers for the more students.
Mr. Bob, can you
So,
answer that?
I can't.
I'm just wondering, why are we voting when we don't have any data?
Yeah. Madam President, if I may, I know Mrs. Hurley wanted to speak as well, so.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
So, a few things. All of those same questions that the board is talking about here this evening, we spoke about those during the discuss back in October. And we talked at length. I want to say that the total time spent on that discussion was well over a half hour, and the board had an opportunity to.
And there was no data. I'm sorry, Jason, but there
Madam
was no
President,
data.
Madam President, if I may.
Let him
There was no
talk.
data,
Madam
truly.
President,
I
if I may.
rewatched that.
No.
You're gonna allow to do that, by the way. That's against Robert's Rules of Order.
Well, you're not allowed to do what you just did.
Well, I can call a
Point of order.
then.
Madam
I
President.
believe the president gave the floor
To Mr. Bob.
Thank you, Madam President. If I may continue, one of the questions that arose this evening was about the resolution. And in my opening remarks pertaining to agenda item number 19, we encapsulated in agenda item number 19, not only about the dollars and cents, but several times I mentioned the word programming that we offer here for our students. And coincidentally, we also had our presentation this evening from our Career Technical Education program, talking about some of the outstanding program that we have here in the South Redford School District. To the question about the resolution, it is also worded as viable. So there is no assumption being made about what revenue that may generate. The South Redford specific data that we need to make an informed decision about this is the 323 student loss that we've experienced in the past 3 years. And we talked at length in that October meeting that as a district, we collectively believe about building consensus and compromise. And so we took that conversation from that meeting in October to bring about consensus and compromise to try to find a middle ground where we can continue to move the district forward in the best interests of the community. And we talked about that at length. And so we also spoke at that time that we can do things differently and better than what we're currently doing. And we also talked about the gifted and talented staff that we have here in the South Redford School District and the remarkable district that it is.
Right.
But the reality remains is that we are competing for fewer students. That is the data. Michigan's population is flat at best, if not declining. Wayne County's population is declining, especially of school-aged children. The average age in Michigan is in its late 30s, and people are having fewer children now than ever before. And so we have to think about doing things better and differently from what we've previously done in the past if we're going to continue to maintain the outstanding programming that we have and want to continue to offer in the district. And there's also more choices that families have now than ever before as well. We have consulted with the SREA, we have consulted with the administrative group, and overwhelmingly people are in support of this. If people were not, this would not be on the board table. And each board member was well aware that this was going to be considered tonight. This is not a surprise to any board member at this table that this was a possible consideration for the board this evening. This is an outstanding district. And right now, we talked about this at length as well. The amount of families, and Mr. Johnson spoke to this just a short time ago, the amount of families that we have to turn away because of the current provision, it is absolutely painstakingly heartbreaking.
To the chair.
Because, Madam President, if I may finish, there is a number of families that would prefer to send their children to this district that right now, with the way that it's currently set up, we have to turn them away. We have to turn them away. And Madam
No, I'm
President,
sorry, to the chair. I'm calling a point of order. This is a board meeting. This is not a board meeting where Jason gets to act like he's a board member.
Amanda.
And I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry, but you are out of
sorry,
order.
you are
That's
out of
fine,
order.
but Jason is lying. He's lying. If you rewatch the video, I specifically asked how many families are wanting to come to Redford. And you said you didn't have the data, and now
We
you're
don't-
saying you do.
We do not have that data. The data that we have, Madam President, if I may, the data that we have.
Excuse me, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess until we can come back and get our thoughts together, and then we're going to vote. That's it. Are we ready to vote? Yes, we are.
One real quick thing.
Yes.
We are only talking about 3 to 5.
Right, that's it. Do I have a board member?
Madam President,
Yes.
I move the adoption of the following resolution.
Support.
Would you please call the roll, please?
Daniel Winston,
Yes.
Anthony Johnson,
Yes.
Lori Hicks,
Yes.
Misha Hurley,
Yes.
Cheryl Fletcher,
No.
Amanda Fletcher, no. Shirley Tolliver,
Yes. There are 5 ayes and 2 nays. Resolution is adopted. Next item on the agenda is comments from the audience, topics not related to the agenda.
there's none.
Okay, next item on the agenda is plus delta for improvement. Mrs. Davidson.
Madam President?
Yes.
What processes helped the board's work this evening, pluses?
Are there any?
To the chair, I appreciated the CTE director coming and Chef Tony to talk about the CTE program.
Other pluses?
Are there any other? Yes, I enjoyed the presentation for the CTE. And I'd like to thank the board members for allowing me to run this meeting and keeping it from being like it hasn't been. The back and forth, I really appreciate that. Not having that right now.
Might be the opportunities for improvement? Justice?
To the chair.
Yes.
Communication, when a board member gets an agenda and reaches out with questions to the board president and leaves both personal phone messages on their phone and texts because they have questions and needed some answers, and our board president does not return to answer my questions. I find that hinders me going in when I'm looking for information ahead of time. And I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think whether we agree with one another's opinions, we have to be open to listen, and if somebody reaches out and asks questions, especially to our board president, that she should make the time to return those calls or texts. And that's all I have to say. I think that really hinders how the board functions.
Other opportunities for improvement?
To the chair,
Yes.
I think that our board needs to do what we say we're gonna do when we describe ourselves as a data-driven board of innovative thinkers, and then we vote without having all the data, and we rush our decisions, and people vote just based on opinion instead of having the data. I think that's a huge delta for how to run a district. Any other opportunities for improvement? That's all. Yes.
Oh, no, that's pointed together.
Since there's no further business that comes before this board, I adjourn this board
8:16.
8:16.